So Jeremy and I met when we were in 8th grade, actually, and I always had a crush on him. He says he had a crush on me.
We became really friends in our later years in high school, and it was my freshman year of college. I had moved away to Virginia to go to school out there, and I had heard that she had started dating another guy, and then it was at that moment that I realized that I was not okay with her being with another man. And so it was that summer after my freshman year that we started dating. I came back and I let her know my intentions.
Jeremy told me that I was the only girl who ever understood his sense of humor. So I think that's one of the reasons why we just clicked. But yeah, I think our big priorities in life were just aligned. So yeah, we just dated for 3 years and then got married.
At that time, I had already moved out to Florida. I'd been living in Florida for about 2 months already. And so we got married in August. I came back to get married. And then about a week later, we packed everything of hers up and moved out to Florida.
We knew we wanted to start a family, and we knew that starting a family in South Florida was going to be really difficult. So doors just started to open for us to move back to Colorado.
We started kind of looking for jobs out here, and at that time, just through some connections that we had, found out that Grace was looking for another person to come alongside Jason and his leadership to be a part of the worship ministry here.
A few months after that, Jeremy was hired on, and we've been there ever since.
So when we had finally moved back to Colorado, we had been living here for about 1.5 years. And at that point, we got pregnant.
I was so excited. I wanted to be a mom pretty much all my life.
Yeah, the first several months, man, just life was, it was cloud nine at that time. And those first 20 weeks were amazing. And then week 20, yeah, things came crumbling down.
So we went in for a 20-week ultrasound, which is typically where they'll be able to tell you the sex of your baby, and they just do a quick kind of anatomy scan just in general. So they told us that the baby was a girl. We were so excited. And then they escorted us out into the waiting room and brought us back in. And at that point, the doctor said that something looked wrong with her heart, but that they couldn't necessarily diagnose anything there. So they referred us to Children's Hospital Colorado, and we were able to be seen the next day. So at that point, they were able to get kind of a clear ultrasound of her heart.
They asked us to step into another room and to sit down with us and kind of tell us of what they were seeing. And at that moment, they told us that our daughter had what was known or is known as hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Just in that moment, you're just so confused and overwhelmed at hearing that your child just doesn't have a great chance at life anymore. It's strange to have your job and your profession to be a professional worshiper, worship leader. And in the worst moment of my life, I don't know that I can say that my initial response was, God, thank you for this. In fact, that was not my response. And now God was putting me in this place of saying, Jeremy, are you going to practice what you preach?
I grew up in a Christian home, but up until that point, I had never really faced anything where I needed, like I felt desperate for God. So I feel like every every nugget of truth that I knew to be true and had stored in my heart and had been poured into me all those years prior, I think those just started to bubble to the surface.
We were coming up on 37 weeks of Amanda being pregnant, and I had gotten a phone call as I was on my way into work that morning. Amanda had left early to go to a doctor's appointment.
We weren't expecting to have her that day, so they checked her heart rate, and they said, wow, her heart rate is kind of going really high and then plummeting. They basically looked at me and said, you need to go straight to the hospital because you're having this baby today.
I think by the time we had gotten there, it'd been less than 20 minutes and Elsy was out and born.
I thought she just looked so perfect and so healthy. I almost thought, I was I think they were wrong.
They let us see her for, man, it had to have been less than a minute, but they took her and they needed to get her hooked up to all these kind of different machines to start help giving her medicine and all these different things to help make sure that her heart would remain healthy until her first open heart surgery a few days later.
I wanted to praise the Lord throughout that day, but I also wanted Elsy's life, no matter how long it was, to just be, just to magnify Jesus and just to point people back to Jesus in the way that her life pointed me to him and made me realize how much I needed him like never before.
Amanda and I have really been able to move forward in our faith by viewing God's goodness, not through our outcomes, but through our outlook. And we really want to see God's goodness through how he's blessing us in the everyday and in the way that we are seeing Elsy succeed in ways that we were told she wouldn't.
That gives me the most peace in knowing that he'll be there and that nothing takes him by surprise. And that anything that does happen is ultimately for his glory and for our good, even if that doesn't really make sense on this side of heaven.